Hello, nuts and nerds, and welcome back to A Squirrel Plays. Today we're going to be talking about monsters, again! In my last video, I talked about a specific monster that I made, which was a lot of fun, but it reminded me of another topic that I've been sitting on for a while now, and I want to talk about it. And that topic is making your audience, be it players, readers, or viewers, actually feel the danger that you've made. We've touched on this a little bit in the past, and I think it was my character introductions video where I used the Inquisitors from Obi-Wan as an example. I offered an alternate introduction to them that made them feel like an actual threat instead of a bunch of Looney Tunes, but them being a threat wasn't the main focus of that discussion. So today I would like to focus on that, and I'm going to use an actual TTRPG session I played in as an example. It was a play test with the legendary Peter from Tales from Elsewhere. And considering the amount of cross-pollination of viewers we have, most of you are probably already familiar with the lad. Doesn't help that he's already bigger than I am on YouTube, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But if you're not, I do highly recommend him, as he is a pretty cool dude as it turns out, and his channel has a lot more focus on design theory and mechanics than I do. I just make dumb videos as an excuse for musical transitions. Alright, so if you're unfamiliar with Tales from Elsewhere, the game that is, not the YouTube channel, allow me to give you a little bit of background. It's the good old wild, wild west. You got your cowboys, your six-shooters, and your shotguns, some preachers, all that good stuff. But it isn't just the Wild West, it's the weird post-apocalyptic kind of Wild West. That means we get some weird and scary monsters to throw in, clockwork robots, some mystery, and Peter has done a fantastic job of doing all of that. I don't remember if it's the main threat of the world, but certainly one of the bigger threats are what he calls the Blood Oilers. And these guys are made up of mechanical parts as well as human parts, and in order to get those human parts, well, they have to capture other humans and then make more Blood Oilers out of them. Not exactly a fun thing to go through, and it is a little bit gross. But see, if you just had these guys wandering around all willy-nilly, the sense of danger would kind of lose its edge, don't you think? You could make it so your party encounters just one of them and it almost completely wrecks them, which would give them a sense of power scale. Not a bad option at all, and definitely a viable one, depending on what you're wanting to do. Another twist you could add to that is that the party comes across a wounded Blood Oiler, and then the thing still almost completely wrecks the party. As the party limps away from the battle bleeding and bruised, although victorious, you remind them that the Blood Oiler was extremely wounded when they found it. If the party has any sense in their noggins, they'll be able to figure out that a healthy Blood Oiler is probably something they should steer clear of. They'll know as it stands they are clearly not strong enough to handle one and have a lot of growing to do. And that can be a super rewarding feeling when they do finally find one and are able to overcome it. Both of these options are very good and can certainly do the job. But what if I told you there was a third option? Well, really, there's probably several hundred other options, but that's not the point. Now, I don't know what was going through Peter's mind when he designed this session and encounter, and I'm not going to be like certain other YouTubers and pretend to know. It might have just been a happy accident that things worked out the way they did. The only way we can know for sure is to call and ask, which we will do later. But first, we'll talk about how it went down, the effect it had, and we'll see if that was by design or not. Like and subscribe.
Oh, okay, this is what we're doing? I say one wrong thing and you replace me with Bob of all people? Come on, you could have at least gotten Fred.
Well, where is Fred, man? I haven't seen him in ages.
Previously on A Squirrel Plays. Billy the Wizard here and Fred the Barbarian. Two characters you know absolutely nothing about. Let's say these two are out on an adventure and Fred dies. Blech. Oh, Lord, we forgot to get Fred.
When we all jumped into the game, we had gotten a small lore dump on the world. We knew it was the Old West, and we knew there was something nasty out there called the Blood Oilers. However, those really weren't our concern, because all we were focused on was escorting a caravan from your normal dangers, so no biggie, right? The first bit of the session was spent getting to know the characters, as well as a few challenge rolls to kind of get you eased into the game mechanics. Think of it as a game mechanic tutorial type of thing, which is pretty dang smart for an introductory playtest. As we got moving along, the challenge we had to face was crossing a small river. And if you've seen any of those old Western movies, you know that this can be a bit of a problem with wagons. Now, the river farther up the way had been dammed up, so the water in front of us wasn't that big of a deal. Supposedly. But GM Peter here clued us in that there was something funky in the water. Something strange, you might say. Something that put the horses on edge. Now, I can't speak for the other players, but I already had a pretty good inkling what it was, but that didn't actually ruin anything, and you'll see why. So we're just trucking along, and then bam, the wagon in the water slips into a rut in the ground and not only gets stuck and tips over a good bit, but an NPC gets their leg caught under the wheel as well. Not the end of the world because the NPC can keep his head above water and we're all right there to assist him. Naturally, we all agree to give the cart a heave-ho to try and lift it up so the NPC can crawl out, and then we'll get the cart completely upright so we can get moving again. Then things start to escalate. An explosion is heard up the way where the dam is, resulting in a lot more water flowing down our way, meaning the water levels are rising. And that's not exactly good for our little NPC friend here stuck under the cart. On top of that, some bandits pop over the edge and start shooting at us. Classic Western shootout over the caravan. Bullets are flying, water is rising, we're trying to lift the carriage and pull out the NPC, just all kinds of things going on.
Get him, Frank! Get him, popcorn! You almost got the cookie! Oh, God!
But for the most part, we're doing okay. We're holding off the bandits, even picking one or two of them off thanks to some really good rolls. The bandits technically have the upper hand with their positioning, and you may even say they have the high ground, but the dice have been in our favor so far, and we're actually not doing too bad. And then it happens. We hear the mechanical parts moving, chainsaws revving, all that good stuff. It's out of sight, but we know for sure what's coming. The shootout continues for another turn or two, but everyone is trying to hurry up and get the heck out of Dodge. And then it shows up, one nasty blood oiler. Now, keep in mind, people of this world know that these things are super dangerous and that it's very much better to be killed by one than taken alive. And if that sounds familiar...
They just float out there, sending out rave reading parties.
Now, I'm not sure how much of this was in the original one-shot he had planned and how much came from being on stream and having the Bane and Pool poll going on with the chat, but a couple more of these things did show up. One of them took out a bandit and another grabbed their head honcho, but we decided it was more important to get our butts moving, leading us to sacrifice an entire wagon of TNT by using it to blow up just a single blood oiler. See, just a few minutes prior, bandits were the big threat, and us players were the big threat to the bandits. In just a few short seconds, all of that completely changed, and neither of us was worth worrying about because there was a much more dangerous threat now. The bandits choosing to focus on the blood oilers instead of the party helps show that level of danger. It would have had even more impact if the bandits had been rolling better and were actually winning against the players. That said, the players could have absolutely chosen to stay and fight, and depending on how the fight went, you may or may not have lost some of the impact you were going for. And this is one of the big differences, if not the main difference, between writing a story and being a GM that I think is important to remember. The writer can make everyone on the scene react how they want to the blood oiler. The GM can only make the NPCs react how they want. The players get to decide whether they run or stay and fight. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually the beautiful thing about TTRPGs, right? That's where it becomes collaborative storytelling. The scene has been set, the terror has revealed itself. What do? Do you fight to run another day? Well, mess that one up. Do you run to fight another day, or do you stand your ground like a brave idiot? We were all a bunch of chickens, so naturally we ran away. Didn't even bother to put the bandit lady that got captured out of her misery. But in our defense, some of us were bleeding a little bit already. Lead has a funny way of making you do that when it flies through the air and hits you at about 1,000 miles an hour. My point is, it was a very, very fun way to introduce a threat and put it into perspective. Not only did we see a blood oiler tear through a bandit like it was nothing, we got to see the world react accordingly. The tension was already high thanks to a gradual escalation of events. First it was just a river to cross, then it was somebody's leg stuck under a wagon in the water, then it was somebody stuck in rising water under the cart, then it was dealing with all that while getting shot at. The tension just kept rising and rising until it ultimately hit a boiling point, and that boiling point was a monster that nobody wanted to deal with. Something that trivialized? Well, that's another one for the book. Something that made all of our other problems look a whole lot smaller. The big threat of this setting was only on screen for like 5% or less of the session. When it's so bad that you have to run away, or in our case, also blow up an entire cart, it leaves an impact on you. A little aura of mystery, if you will. You don't know exactly just how bad that thing was, and really you don't want to know. Now, for the big question, was that by design? Was it an intentional way to show the scale of the threat? Or was it just a cool series of events that happened to work out nicely? Let's call and find out. Man, I hope he doesn't start talking about old movies again.
Hey, Scrat. This was entirely intentional. That adventure is supposed to be a teaser for the world at large. It's supposed to be this short little adventure, show some mechanics, and then interest the players in more by dangling this monster in front of them. But not in something that they've gotten to fight directly and see the full capability of, but something that they can be worried about encountering later. Because subsequent parts of this adventure, as this was only a piece of it, dangle that in front of them again. You see, now when the players encounter spilled oil, discarded mechanical parts, or a severed limb later, they'll remember this and think, oh no, there are blood oilers nearby. And now that the players have an experience with them before, you can introduce the threat in a more substantive way and actually pit the players against them, because now they know what they're getting into. So the initial teaser to build interest, and then later on, you can have them actually have to descend into an oiler nest to destroy it, right? And that reveal lands so much better if several sessions ago, you dangled a little teaser of the blood oilers first. So yeah, totally intentional. And a lot of this goes back to the movie Predator.
All right, that's a wrap. Play the outro.
Schwarzenegger. And it's about the idea of having the heroes seem heroic in some circumstances and then it being pulled back on them. And it's hard to describe just how great and impactful this movie was on the idea of action horror. You see, over the many years of action horror film,